We are going to speak about this finding that the government came out with in regards to Mr. 19, COVID. So, guys, this report, if you will, that came out, sort of like the 9/11 Commission report, but this one was for Mr. 19. And there were a lot of things in that report that were now coming out to be true that we stated, and we mean by every last one of us who fought that nonsense tooth and nail. Every last one of us that didn't want to put a face covering on, or take the arm ticket, or stand 6 feet apart, or walk into a store one at a time so we didn't get everybody else sick. All of those findings and all of those things that were implemented, were found out to be bullshit. We were, again, lied to for 4 years. This study comes out, or report, comes out, and no one's reading it. That's the crazy shit. No one's reading it. You got to look this up on the internet, and you can find it. Obviously, if you want it to find the PDF file, you can read it. I'm going to attach it to the video, the description section. I'm going to attach the link to the PDF so that you guys can read it for yourself. But there was a lot of nonsense that was displayed during the whole event that a lot of people, like, that's not how it works, like the standing 6 feet apart. I don't know how we got to where we believed that standing 6 feet apart was going to work, but it didn't. And not when you're surrounded by people. It doesn't work that way. It never had. I remember saying this, and people were like, it works because it's science. Meanwhile, there was no science base for it. There was no proof that it worked. And it didn't. Actually, the original 6 feet apart was more like 18. Imagine standing 18 feet apart from somebody. It was either 18 or 12, It was either 18 or 12. I think I'm leaning more towards 18. Still, imagine standing 12 feet apart or 18 feet apart from somebody on a line. You would be fucking Catmandu if you had to wait online for like a plane or some shit. So that's probably why they made it 6 feet. Again, standing apart from each other proved that it didn't work. Proved that it didn't matter how far apart you sit, because people are coughing, sneezing, even with a face covering on, which they found out that didn't work. Nothing we put on our face would work except for N95. So again, guys, all of these things that I've argued with people about, because I was in the medical field when I was an EMT and partially in the medical field when I became a fireman, these are things we learned about when we were in EMS or fire. Basic shit. And they try to change that basic shit around and make it more complex, or make it simpler, for people to be like, well, you have to put something over your face. And they were like, well, you could put a bandana or a surgical mask. And neither of those worked. And I remember saying that numerous times to everybody, arguing with guys in the firehouse who were also EMTs and CFRD firefighters. We were having an argument about shit we learned years ago. Now this study comes out and it backs everything that a lot of us said, including doctors who were ostracized, kicked out of their profession, had their license stripped from them, which I hope they get it back now because this report came out. YouTube channels were deleted. They should get their channel back, or at the very least be able to reinstate their new channel because of this report. The amount of lying that went down with Mr. 19 was insane. And then they touch on the arm ticket. And don't even get me started with that one, because that was a shit show in itself, and that proved that didn't work. People took this thing, and for what? People believed it was going to protect my family. And it didn't do anything. People still got sick. People like Eric Adams are sitting there going, well, thank God I had the arm ticket because I would have died. What? How the fuck did you make that connection? Still, the amount of lying that goes on, this is why conspiracy theorists like myself, as we get older, it's harder and harder to believe the government and their bullshit. Like this drone shit, telling us they don't know what it is. And they're high-ranking officials who do not know what this is, which is crazy. Nonetheless, somebody in the government knows what it is, and if they don't know what it is, that's a problem. But they should now, being that it's been about a month of this shit, and this wasn't the first time they heard about it a week ago. The government got reports about this as soon as it started happening, the FAA rather, and they started reporting this. But now, a month in, you have no clue what it is. That means somebody's lying. So, of course, guys, we can't sit there and believe the government and their bullshit because somebody is absolutely lying. Now, with that report, the report is long. It's a few hundred pages. it gets ridiculous in the amount of shit that we were told would work, and they wanted us to believe. And they forced us to believe it by way of commercials, by way of repeating the same thing over and over again, by way of putting the number of people who didn't make it at the bottom of the screen. Every day you turned on the news, the number went up. It was insanity. And we were all lied to, and people should be pissed. We should be at D.C. running them up right now. But nope, we're not. We're not going to do that. But because that was the government overreaching with their power. And whenever governments overreach with their power, that's when the people make a stand and they go after the government. That's what we should be doing. We should be out there doing some shit, yelling and screaming at them with signs or whatever it is. Or a little above and beyond signs, if you get what I'm saying. But nonetheless, that's where we should have drawn the line, but we didn't. And so now, this study's coming out. If the next event happens, people are not going to listen, and they're definitely not going to listen to the government, because look, unless this report was showing how easily docile and easily controlled we were, which now that I just thought of that, I'm thinking maybe that was the point of the report. Not to sit there and tell us that this stuff didn't work, but to sit there and tell other people who are reading it, like code, how easy it was for us to be controlled. Anyway, other than that, guys, this is the Angry Prepper. Thank you for watching the Angry Truth channel.